everybody. My name is Lisa Medley, and I'm the founder of Somatic Sanctuary School. And I'm here with my dear friend, colleague, comrade in well-being, Barbara Badolati. And she is going to give us some really vital information and some tips, some very specific, simple, practical tips about what to do at 3 a.m. when you're awake. So this is called the 3 a.m. wake up call. It might be 2, it might be 3:30, it might be 4, it might be somewhere just in the middle of the night, which is not uncommon. Not uncommon. And so she's going to be sharing some information. And so to introduce her, I'm going to read just briefly some background from her amazing book. It's now in the second edition, Your Sleep Blissful Guidebook, over 100 ways to naturally fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake refreshed. Yes. Did you like that? Yeah. I was sharing earlier with Barbara that yes.
So little. You can actually
look at it. It's a lot of tips. It's a lot of tools, which that's one of the things we have in common. I'm all about the tools.
Yeah.
Simple, practical, experiment with them, integrate them. And that one of the things I was sharing earlier is that, you know, as an energy sensitive being in this world, that I have experienced that I have chosen and really cultivated my lifestyle around getting sufficient sleep, because I really don't have a lot of wiggle room. I can push myself a little bit, and then I really just need to be by myself for a while until I feel better. So sleep is gold. It's gold, and it's, you know, it's a practice, and it's also natural. So we're going to get back
and
to.
It's also a gift. You know, I think that when we start talking about, and we could just talk without the presentation. So I really appreciate that. And that's how I ended up writing the book, because I too would ask my mom to go take a nap when I was little. Like, I know that I have to have sleep like you, or everything just starts to fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, so let me introduce you in just that formal way, just give some more context. And yeah, share what you have, because it's just chock full of information, and for us visual learners, you know, just to kind of see some things, and then we can, you know, chat a little bit. And this is just designed not to be a lengthy deep dive, just, you know, dipping in and normalizing, neutralizing your experience, and remembering how natural sleep is.
And have one thing that you can take with you today and use tonight. Like, that would be what you and I always guide people, is like, don't just listen or watch this. When you have that aha of like, oh, I never thought about the yin tang that, or I'm forgetting about doing deep breathing or whatever. So Lisa and I really do want to make this so that you can apply it.
Yes, because that's where life happens. Okay, so I'm reading from, again, Barbara's short and sweet and profound guidebook. After a repeated day of overwhelming, unfulfilling, stressful job, followed by 3 margaritas and a nightcap of Krispy Kreme donuts, Barbara knew she had to make some changes. At the time, there were no quote unquote life coaches, so she became her own, creating the life that was best for her mind, body, heart, and soul. Barbara's educational background is rooted in positive psychology, neuroscience, exercise physiology, health and life coaching, yoga, breathwork, and somatic therapies, which she weaves with heartfelt care and intuitive gifts. As a pioneer in the evolution of wellness since 1984, Barbara has consulted organizations in the private and public sectors, is a TEDx and international speaker, author, and retreat leader. Barbara is also the founder of BeWell Retreats, which creates transformational experiences for people throughout the world, including sleep retreats, to unplug from a stress-filled world. her Sleep Blissful books, retreats, products, and coaching guide others toward greater well-being. She believes who we are is what we can best offer to others and the betterment of the world.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Right? It's who we are that is what we can contribute, right? So this has everything to do with it, and sleep is such a vital piece of this. So we're gonna laser in on that midnight, mid-morning wake up because there's so many different areas that you and I talked about with your community and the lack of sleep or quality of sleep.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So let me just drop those in there. I did kind of a poll for some of my community of like, what wakes you up at night? So this is will be very relatable, and then we can go into some of the content and the tips. And again, be thinking about how does this apply to me, and what's one thing that feels easy, like almost like no brainer easy to just experiment with tonight. Yeah. So getting up to use the bathroom, hot flashes, just being uncomfortable in your body. A few like they just wake up and they don't even know why. They're just awake.
okay.
There's just nothing they can point to. And then some, which is also kind of another conversation, is just having a hard time falling asleep, which is sometimes included, being woken up as well in the middle of the night. But that's also another topic. And so, yes, to your point, we'll laser in on that middle of the night. Why am I awake?
Great. Do you want me to go ahead and start to screen share
Yeah, go
and
for
we'll
it.
go from
Start
there?
away.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so you can see the screen. And so we're going to focus on the 3 a.m. wake up call. I'm Barbara Badolati. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And we should have really tested this out before we got here because oh, you know why? Because it goes like this. Well, this is interesting of transition. So we address some of this, but there are hundreds of reasons why people wake up. And it changes with our ages, it changes with our situation, our lifestyle, all of that. So this is just a brief list, right? We might have a dream that wakes us up. Maybe the cat jumped on the bed. Maybe I have a loss of a loved one, right? So there's a lot of reasons that we can wake up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock. But I'm also going to talk about the stages of sleep and the cycles of sleep and your circadian rhythm, because some of it is physiology, some of it is these other, I have a physical pain. So there's many, many different reasons. And what I always tell people is like, you are your own sleep guru. And again, your life is changing every single day. No 2 days are alike. No 2 nights are alike. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, if there's something that's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that, or oh, I didn't think about that, then jot it down, make a note of it. I do love this rule of 3 because some people say to me, well, how do I know that I'm not going to like an insomnia or there's some situation? Well, of course, you always check with your doctor. And Dr. Michael Brewis, he's a psychologist, and he basically has this rule of 3, which means that if you are noticing that there's 3 consecutive nights within a week, a 7-day period, that there's 3 nights that you are waking up or having a difficult time falling asleep, or there's 30 minutes where you're staying awake, right? So let's say that you do kind of wake up at that 2:30, 3 o'clock. They say not to check your watch, but let's just say you know that you're waking up sometime in the middle of the night and you're having a challenging, difficult time trying to fall back asleep, and it's about 30 minutes or more. That might be a sign. And then if you have that for 3 weeks, so let's say that some of this is occurring on one week and then another week, you're having a really challenging time trying to fall back asleep, one or both of those, that is something that is kind of a yellow flag, like, oh, what's going on in my life, my lifestyle that maybe needs to be adjusted? Because your sleep is not broken. You were designed to sleep, and your body rhythms, your biochemistry, the darkness and light of day and night, there are so many reasons that you can say, my sleep is not broken, but maybe something about my lifestyle. Because in less than 150 years, with the invention of the light bulb, incandescent light, our whole lifestyles have changed. So just kind of keep that in mind that sometimes we think it's our sleep, but really it's our lifestyle or being exposed to junk lighting or having too many devices going or the environment in our bedroom isn't ideal or there's too many disturbances or we're not learning how to quiet our mind an hour or two before sleep. Or it could be something about digestion, right? There's a lot of other reasons that you may be waking up at that midnight hour or later. So let's talk a little bit about hormones because you release cortisol. In fact, the best thing you can do in the morning when you're waking up, because cortisol kind of makes things go, right? You want cortisol to be produced, but you want it in the morning. So get some light. I have an alarm clock that gradually illuminates, which is my alarm. So I'm not like jarred by music or an alarm system. But that light also is triggering cortisol, which is actually in the release from the adrenals. So you could actually kind of like feel back behind you in the middle of your back or your kidneys. You could even right now while I'm talking, you could massage that area, kind of help your adrenals. And so you want cortisol to be produced in the morning, and what triggers it most is daylight. So that's the first thing is to start to have that hormone released at the time that's appropriate, not at night while you're on your devices and it's still, because at night you were designed to release melatonin, which comes from the pineal gland. And it is this beautiful chemical. It's like the sleepy chemical. And so you want that because of darkness is when it will be produced. Now, I know as we age, we can produce less melatonin. And again, there's lots of different factors. If we have alcohol, that's going to influence your sleep and on and on and on. And so do your best with starting to turn down lights, start to create darkness. Definitely have your room dark when you're sleeping because that's going to support that production of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. Let's talk about digestion because this is another very important factor as to not only perhaps why you wake up or the fragmented sleep you might have, which might cause you to wake up again at that 3 o'clock period, but also some of you were talking about being able to fall asleep. So ask yourself if you're having challenges, even one night of falling asleep or staying asleep, how much food are you eating? What time are you eating or drinking? And then what did you eat or drink? Right? Because there's a lot of different things that could also influence your disruption of the whole biochemistry, your sleep, your liver, your whole digestive system, basically. When it starts to get dark, it says, okay, like the liver starts to do its cleaning, if you will, and detoxifying. You're not supposed to be having food in your stomach and your whole digestive system, having that put the energy into that. So perhaps consider, okay, maybe you had some chocolate. I've learned I didn't used to have this issue, but I've learned like, oh, if I have chocolate or even caffeine in the afternoon, and I remember when people would say that, they're like, oh no, I can't have any more caffeine. It's 3 o'clock. I would like, I'd poo poo that, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? But again, things change as we age, as our lifestyles change. And now I realize if I have chocolate and I notice that I had a rough night sleeping or I woke up in the middle of the night, what caused that? I'm my own sleep guru. Oh, you know what? I had some chocolate cake last night. I don't usually have chocolate cake. That could have influenced my sleep. Same thing with alcohol. Alcohol is considered a sedative. So a lot of people will have a cocktail or a glass of wine or something because it kind of relaxes their mind because it's causing that sedative in that frontal cortex. But it fragments your sleep. You're not able to go into deep sleep because of alcohol and the chemistry that's happening within your body. So, yeah, it kind of shuts down your consciousness, but it doesn't allow you to go into deep sleep. Sugar, high glycemic carbs, those are all just some things to kind of explore, track, notice, and see if there's an adjustment that you want to make with that. Lisa, what do you think? Anything on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate, I know we share this approach of being curious and like tracking from a place of curiosity. And, sometimes that awareness, I certainly know for myself where I'm like, oh, okay. It can feel a little twingy, you know, and to, again, to Barbara's point, this is your sleep is not broken. You are not broken. Our lifestyle is inhumane, generally speak, as a whole. And that this is natural. And so along the way to just reconnect the dots of
Yeah.
just what's natural, back to the basics, to be
Mhm.
curious and just start to what some of these specific items that Barbara's offering of, oh, what did I eat? Or, the,
Yeah, it could be
the,
like you
the
had a great
rhythm.
Mexican, yeah, you had a great Mexican dinner at 8 o'clock at night. Well, you don't usually do that. So again, because sometimes when we have a sleep disruption, we start to get into this franticness of like, oh my gosh, I got to get up, but I have to do this tomorrow, and I'm not going to feel my best, and blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of get into this cycle and you hyper arousal the brain. And so then you don't sleep well. So I love that what you just said about be curious, but don't get over the top with that little tap on the shoulder. So, yeah, that is great. So, the other thing is, like you were saying, it's inhumane. I mean, we got way too much going on. I love the statistic that said your ancestors 100 years ago processed the same information, made the same types of decisions in over a year's time that we make in one day. So, that might be a little assessment. Like, is every single day just too much? And I put this picture up because I had like little post-it notes of all these things that we always are having to think about and manage and run around. And but then I was like, sometimes it is just like a flock of birds, just and so, how are you landing in your life? Maybe there is some arranging that you need to do because your sleep is being sacrificed. And that's a big part of this is when you value something that you love and appreciate and understand how valuable it is, then you do make adjustments, right? So, just something to think about. We live in a world that there's just a lot going on. Also, your environment. This could be why you're waking up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It could be the temperature. Your body temperature changes at night. So you might find that you've got a comforter and that you need to kick out 1 foot at 3 o'clock because you've overheated. Or again, because of hormones, you might find that you have night sweats. So temperature is something that, again, we have to gauge and kind of play with. And I know a lot of people have explored that, but this is a big part of why we wake up. I find too that when people wake up in the middle of the night, they check their watch or their clock or their phone. That should not even be in the vicinity. You really, really want that room to be dark. I've had to change the blinds in my bedroom. The only thing that illuminates is that clock. So, again, check that out. Even in hotel rooms, if there's like a little sliver of light coming in, I shut that as much as I can, close off that, create that darkness so that that melatonin continues to produce. Noise. Noise could be that you have a noise like a sound machine that's just gently allowing your brain to relax and stay that way, but also you might have noises that are disruptive. And so look at that or listen to that and notice if there's something that you can change on that. Bedding, go with natural fibers, like, and this is all in this book. So cotton, hemp, bamboo, even on your skin. I've had clients that have all kinds of hot flashes and we change their bedding and the clothing that they have on their skin. takes care of it. At least they have a way to regulate their body temperature. This is so interesting. I just got done doing a podcast and it was about sleep divorce. And I thought that was such a peculiar title. And I said, well, first of all, I understand that people sleep differently or have different shifts, or maybe one person snores or has a CPAP machine or something. And so we were talking on this podcast about having separate bedrooms or having different sleep arrangements. So, again, that's something that you would want to work out with your partner. But it could also be that you have animals that wake you up. And I know we all love to sleep with our animals, but sleep is really valuable. And it might be more important than cuddling with the cat all night long that wants to get up at 4 o'clock because that's the nocturnal say that. So you just have to kind of like work with what you have and value sleep and make those adjustments. Also, I know with COVID, a lot of people were putting their offices in their bedroom. That's got to get out of there. Don't have your laptop or anything. You really want your bedroom to be a sanctuary, and create it with the bedding and the lighting and maybe a sound machine and everything that you can. Maybe there's a gentle fan. I had a overhead fan put in. It made such a big difference just to have that gentle breeze. So look at all those things, including your devices. There is so much science now that we know it is not good for your brain, your emotional health, to have your phone and going scrolling all night long. And it's set up to create an endorphin hit, a dopamine hit. And so it's hard to put down. And then it becomes a real habit to the point where we don't even realize it, like any habit. So one of the things at the sleep retreat is there's no devices. And it's amazing how that is it is almost an addiction. So maybe explore that and determine, is this something that I need to change? And how am I going to do that? That's why we both do coaching and things. Self-care, it's interesting. We never used to talk about self-care, right, Lisa? Like it's kind of been a thing over the past 10 years. And I find that self-care for me is even just like being clear with my boundaries, knowing that I have to like start to shut down about 9 o'clock at night. I used to work all night. I mean, there's all kinds of things that I used to do where now I'm like, that's part of self-care because I know that when I sleep well and set myself up as best that I can, knowing that every night is different, I'm going to be more productive, effective, kinder, pleasant, happier, healthier when I take care of myself. So, however, self care is for you, and we need pleasure. So, 60 minutes of pleasure, whatever that is, broken into 10 minutes, 66 times throughout the day. I don't care. Give yourself a foot massage, say no to something, whatever it is, and start to really build that muscle of self care so that it's becoming a natural way of caring for yourself. I'm not going to get into this too much, but that's one of the things I love about your community and how you dive into this deeper. But let's talk about the wake up call because this is really what we came here to talk about. And a lot of Indigenous peoples and even our ancestors, whenever there was that wake up call, when that veil was thin between the spirit world and our world on earth and our the reality that we have during the day, is really an opportunity. And I just shared this with another presentation I did, and I called it this invitation or opportunity. And the interviewer just was like, oh, an invitation, an opportunity, right? And Lisa and you and I talk about this, like, how do we reframe? How do we turn this around so that it can work in our favor? And so if you wake up at 2 or 3 and maybe you use the restroom, or maybe you have to change your body position, or maybe you just need to do some deep breathing, but also maybe it is for you to be aware of a dream that you had, which is just like your emotional therapist. You need to have those dreams. Or maybe it's for you to connect in a prayer or with spirit or angels. So, again, I'm not going to go into this too much. It's just an invitation and something to be curious about. I do want to talk about the stages and cycles of sleep because this is super important. So, there is a sleep drive, and there's actually adenosine, which builds up throughout the day. It's another chemical that's released through the brain. And again, it's important to do. And when it builds up, the way that it dissolves is through either a nap or sleep. So when you have a sleep drive that's high and that adenosine has been built up, and you've had a really fulfilling, satisfying day, which is part of self care, you might be like, oh, I'm really tired. That's stage one. The brain is starting to move into from an alpha stage and starting to slow down the brain waves. They speed back up when you're in REM, deep sleep, but that's because you're dreaming. That takes about 5 or 10 minutes to start to relax and say, okay, I'm going to sleep. Stage two, you move into theta brain waves. That takes about 20 minutes. That's when you start to feel like you're dozing off, and you might even have like a little jerk with your arm or a muscle. And you're also realizing, I'm starting to fall asleep. Sometimes something pops in your brain. You're like, oh, I got to remember to do that tomorrow. Or, oh, my shoulder is really hurting, and you're trying to get comfortable. That can kind of shift you. So, as much as possible, recognize if you start to like, oh, I got to wake up. Nope, I'm moving into sleep, and guide yourself there. Stage three and four, and there's a lot of physiological and things happening. I'm not going to go into that just because of time, but stage three and four is delta. So that's now when your heart rate is slowed down, your muscles are relaxed. All of this is starting to take place for you to drift off. You become unconscious. I don't know where our consciousness goes, but we are in that sleep state. And that's really important for muscle repair. I mean, there's just a lot of benefits. I could list them all, but I'm just going to keep moving on because going into stage five is super, super important. And that takes about 10 to 20 minutes. That sometimes again gets disrupted because of the cycles. And I wish I had this other slide in here, but I'm going to explain it. So that REM sleep, that rapid eye movement, the only thing that is moving is your breath. Of course, your heart is beating and your eyes are moving. So there's a little bit of brain activity. You're breathing slowly and your eyes are fluttering because your brain is now starting to process events through the day, a conflict that you might have. So that's why we dream. So we go through these cycles. If you look, it's like 5, 10, 20, 20, 40, 10, 20. That's about a 90-minute, maybe 110 minutes. And we go through about 4 or 5 of those cycles. Adolescents, they need about 5 or 6, 7 of those cycles. And the cycles will change throughout the night. So let's just say you're going to sleep about 10, 11 o'clock, right? You're going to cycle through that until about 1, then you're going to start to cycle again. And so about 3, 4 o'clock, you're starting to move from REM sleep, where you might have had a dream, coming back into a light sleep, where you might wake up to go to the bathroom. I think all of us have probably had this. I'm going to quick stop screen share because I want to ask you, Lisa. I think all of us have had that where we were in a deep sleep, like probably that delta brain wave, and we were suddenly woken up, and it's like you're disoriented, right? And you're just like woken out of what they call a deep sleep, right? So that's what happens in those cycles. You probably are not going to wake up on your own, whether it's spirit calling you or a dream or your bladder's calling you when you're in cycles 2, 3, or 4. You're going to wake up when you're starting to go through and out of REM sleep. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
And it's been
So,
so, just to briefly highlight this piece, because this
Yeah.
is part of like what's natural is that, and I've definitely learned this from you, that, the frame of like, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, average person, whatever, I need a little more than that, that it's not, you go to sleep for that whole period. There are these cycles and rhythms, which makes sense because we're part of the natural world and we have these rhythms and cycles. So it's so in alignment with that. And so what you're getting to, and just to highlight, when you're in that, coming out of one cycle, about to go into somewhere else, that's actually normal. That rhythm is happening. And then, which I think you're going to get to, is how to just keep coaching yourself to go back to sleep. Like you're about to start another cycle. It's not time to get up
Right.
right now.
Exactly. And also respect, look at babies and animals, which is one of the reasons I put these pictures in, right? If you observe a baby or a pet, you'll watch them go through the cycles are faster for them. And teenagers, their circadian rhythm of when they wake up and when they sleep and how many cycles they go through because they're growing. They need to sleep. And so the other thing too is napping. Sometimes too, when we don't sleep well, you can kind of make it up with a nap. In fact, 10 minutes of a restorative pose is the equivalent of an hour's worth of sleep. So there's all kinds of other tools. And again, that's in the book. But let's just take a breath. Oh, it's a lot of information. There might have been something that landed where you're like, oh, now I get it. Or, oh, yeah, maybe there's something I can change in my environment, or maybe I have to have a conversation with my partner or whatever, right? So maybe that second bedroom is going to be my sanctuary. So here are some more suggestions. One thing you can do, let's say that you do wake up 2, 3, 4 o'clock, which everybody will. I love this acupressure point. So acupressure is just Chinese medicine that aligns with all the different energy or meridians that run through the body. And so when you take a knuckle, and usually people kind of lay to their side, and I use my thumb, and you're going to just put a little bit of pressure in between the eyebrows, which is the yin tang acupressure point. So when I roll to my side, and again, I'm like, okay, I'm awake. I know I'm in a sleep cycle. I just need to kind of guide and turn off my brain. So I'm just going to rest on my side and kind of instead of sucking my thumb, I'm going to just put my thumb knuckle in that space. That could be a little tip. Also, white chestnut is one of the flower remedies that allows for relaxation. So even if I'm in the car and I've had a really stressful like phone conversation or something, I will just say white chestnut. Sometimes I use that flower remedy, but sometimes just saying it, white chestnut, white chestnut. Breathing, you can layer it with a breath. So sometimes I might put that yin tang and then just say white chestnut, white chestnut. And then I can even focus it with the breath. White on the inhale, chestnut on the exhale. Or you could do another type of breathing, like box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold, exhale for 4, kind of exhale a little bit, hold or suspend that breath, and kind of just do or move through that. Belly breath. I have so many people that I just say, put your hand maybe on your belly or your heart if you're on your back, and just follow the breath. It takes a little bit of training, but it allows you and your mind to start to move into like that, again, that light sleep, that deeper sleep. Oh, I'm into deep sleep. I'm into that stage 3, 4. I wake up in the morning. I don't even remember when I fell asleep because the last thing I remember was white chestnut or hand on belly or breath, or I was breathing. The other thing is there's a lot of different guided relaxations. You can put your phone on do not disturb. You can download it, turn on airplane mode. I'm one of the teachers on Insight Timer. There's a lot of those. Again, you could use a sound machine, but anything that you could soothe yourself like you would a child. right? Because little children wake up in the middle of the night. They had a bad dream or whatever. What do? We don't scold them. We say, "Oh, okay, let's come back here. Let's cuddle, or let's just breathe, or let's relax." So I'm going to complete this. I just wanted to be able to share. I do have the book. You can get the online from the website, Sleep Blissful, or you can, if you want, you can buy the book and I'll sign it and mail it to you. I offer retreats, all kinds of retreats. And then, as I said, I'm one of the teachers on Insight Timer. I do have the QR code right there. So if you take a picture with that, it'll take you to my website. And I have the tips for optimal sleep. So you can subscribe and receive that download. And of course, coaching, if you need some one-to-one, I'm able to provide that as well. It's quite amazing when people have just a few sessions and they can determine what is going on and then be able to apply some of the tips and solutions that are specific for them. So I really love coaching too and helping people with that. I'm going to take us off screen share. That was a lot. We did it in half an hour.
Amazing. 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 It's
Yeah.
like it's getting back to the basics, right? I mean, we have amazing, the blessing of evolution is that, we learn more, we understand more of, how our body works, how our body, our brain, our holistic self really, which empowers us, right? When we have more awareness, we have more power to make choices. And underneath all of that is just like you said, that the little child in us, the wild animal, part of our physiology, part of our somatic self is like it needs to be part of the whole picture, not just like do go 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 like this machine like living that we're not. I sometimes joke with people, were you born on an assembly line? I know that you weren't, but like we keep treating ourselves like that's our origin, and it's not. We have these rhythms, and I just love how you've laid out some basic concepts and lots of tips, practical tips, and then making them work for you, because we all need slightly different things at different times, and we are designed to sleep.
Yeah, and I appreciate all of your YouTubes and your community and everything too, because what you share kind of it almost goes against the grain of our culture. And so for you to be a pioneer and stand strong and show and demonstrate and provide all that guidance that you do is vital. Like sleep is great, like we can get that there too, but you are really connecting people with themselves in their true natural state. And I do believe that people are understanding more and more that they do not have to run in the way that maybe we were trained or traumatized to or conditioned or modeled. We don't have to do that. And so for you to pioneer and guide us to our natural state is such a gift. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you. It's the blessing of being so sensitive.
Ah, right.
Is that I've now that I can kind of look back and see that what has been the most challenging for me of like, how do I do this world? Like I'm so uncomfortable in my like I can't tolerate, or I choose not to. I mean, I've chosen to like numb, and I mean I still do from time to time. I mean, I'm as human as anybody else, right?
Right.
And I also know, well, like, this isn't really sustainable.
Exactly.
I'm here for like a bigger purpose than, just checking out all the time. So how do I find my way back? And that natural state of ease and grace, that's kind of the simple version. And then sleep is an essential pathway to just support that whole picture. So thank you for the
Yeah,
gifts that you bring and for today. And I'll be giving all of your references, the free guide, the guide to the book, your website, all kinds of things. So people
great.
can follow up with you and ask you questions anytime. I know you love to educate like I do. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. This was a pleasure. I will see you again.
Yes,
in our wellness
absolutely. To be
journey.
continued.
That's right. Thank you.